Welcome to the Scoop Order. Happy Sunday. A little earlier today. We got a little bit of stuff going on tonight. We appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to break down a humongous offer, a five-star tackle. This is a giant kid, 6'8", about 340, mauler. Big dude. Going to be a junior. He's a 26, not a 25. So we're going to break his film down. Offered by Ohio State. This kid, by the end of the summer, will be offered by everyone in America. He's got Bama. He's got us. He's got Michigan. He's got the big dog. So we're going to break his film down. He is a really good looking kid, exceptionally raw. He's like a better version of DeJuan Jones at this point, basketball player. So we're going to break his film down. We take your super chats as well. If you guys have questions, as always, please hit us with the super chats. Again, those go to our Pay It Forward fund. We've signed up a ton of new members to BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys are the biggest Ohio State fans in the world and the smartest Ohio State fans in the world, jump on BuckeyeScoop.com. We have threads for a ton of the new recruiting stuff that's going on. South Florida Express announced that they are coming up to Ohio State. They're doing a kind of a world tour through the Midwest and the South. It's going to be really interesting. They actually have a documentary coming out on them. It's going to be really cool. So we're going to get into a little bit of that. Jamie French, obviously, Vernell Brown. There's a lot of talent, and a lot of those kids want to go to Ohio State. So it's going to be really interesting to see how camp shakes out for those kids. So we'll break all that down. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and click that little alert bell. On a day like today where we did happen to go a little early, I know most of you guys expect us at 7, we're going to 5 today, but we appreciate you guys as always for jumping on here. That's why that alert bell is so critical, because a lot of you guys love these live shows, and I want to make sure you guys never miss one. So click that little alert bell. That is huge for watching the show. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Real quick, two of the greatest people in the history of Buckeye Scoop, Arnold and Jennifer, suffered a loss of their puggle, Portia. I just wanted to mention that. Arnold and Jennifer, we love you. We love Portia. Obviously, it's tough. Anytime you guys, everyone's had to usually put a pet down at this point, especially if you're older. It's exceptionally difficult. So Arnold and Jen, love you guys to death. I know this has been very tough, but I'm thinking about both of you guys every day because Portia was a sweetheart. So love you guys both. As we move into this episode, Nevada, Emmanuel Echeo is a kid from, he is from Maryland, from Rockville, Georgetown Prep School. He's a kid that when you watch his tape, it's hilarious because he's at like a prep school. So a lot of the kids are smaller dudes. They look like hockey players. And then there's him who's 6'7", 340. Looks lean. Like he's not a big fat sloppy 340. Rated by 247 as the number 1 tackle in the country for 2026, number 3 in the nation. Ohio State just went on him in the last couple of weeks. Emmanuel is the guy. He'll be a pull. He'll be tough. But I think that this is a guy you throw the budget at because he's got all the length and all the tools that you want in a left tackle. I think honestly in the league he'll be a right tackle because he's so big. But your thoughts on him as I'll click him on the screen real quick.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't heard a lot about him, and then I'd heard from a person close to him that he's got people in his inner circle that are big Ohio State fans. He's hoping to hear from Ohio State, and then sure enough, Ohio State went on him. And the more I saw him, you can't help but make the DeJuan Jones comparisons. But as you said, it's a much more finished product, and people see DeJuan Jones with the Browns and say, well, of course he was obvious. Of course he was offered. But that was like a super mega reach by stud at the time. This guy's not a reach. This guy is just, like you said, he's massive. He's got right tackle written all over him. But just a terrific player, a terrific athlete. I mean, he can play on either side of the ball. Plays multiple sports. A great kid, great student. Active in student government. I mean, it's just like he's just a perfect kid. It would be a perfect addition, maybe high competition. But as I mentioned, got people in a circle, big Ohio State fans, and that usually is a pretty good indicator that you've got a shot. And if you got a shot with something like that, then you take your shot. Ohio State's got a chip in a chair with them, and I'm glad they went. I'm glad that they made an impression on them, and I think Ohio State's going to be in this one to the end. I think you're on mute, Mr. Barton.
Apologize. Yeah, I think that he's going to be an interesting case because he is very, very raw, and he's a guy that is going to be It's going to be a long fight to get this kid in the fold, but he has a ton of ability, and I'm really excited to see what this kid can do. I am looking for his film. I'm just going to throw up the one that I have where I don't have it cut, but he's a good-looking kid, so I'll throw this on for you guys. Big kid. Again, when you see him here, he's playing left tackle. Kills a kid. I mean, when you watch a kid who's this big at this level, this isn't great football. So he's gonna basically flatten everything that he touches. But he's big. He moves well. He's got great flexibility just from watching his tape. And again, that's like one of the most underrated aspects about offensive line play is flexibility, because people don't generally attribute that to an offensive lineman, but guys that are more nimble and more bendable, it's easier for them to redirect in pass protection. So this is a kid, I think that he's probably spent some time in the weight room, but I think this is mostly just natural strength, him just bully balling these kids back. Again, he's a kid, you can't teach 6'7", if he might grow into 6'8". And I think that that's a great starting point. You can't take, his mass and his size is something where it's like, he looks like an old Alabama tackle or one of these Georgia first-round tackles. Like Amarius Mims is a kid that I don't think he's played great in college, but he went in the first round because he's 6'7", 340, and he had 14% body fat or some ridiculous number at the combine. Like when you look at, if you Google Amarius Mims at the combine, there's these photos of him standing there, and he's sculpted out of bronze basically. So that's the kind of kid that this kid is. With his arm length, I think it's a huge advantage for playing tackle. Again, when people talk about guards playing tackle, I think that's a little overrated. I've seen tackles with long arms that can't pass protect to save their lives. I've seen guards or tackles with short arms who could pass protect well, because it's more than arm length. Just this arm length is a huge, it's a huge hump. It's kind of like being tall and dunking. Like if you're 7 foot tall, you're probably going to be an okay dunker, but you might not be as But there's guys that are probably, like Vince Carter's the greatest dunker of all time, and he's not 7 feet tall. He's 6'5" or 6'7" or whatever he is. So I think it makes it a lot easier if you have long arms, again, like dunking and being tall. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get it done. But I like this kid's ability. It was interesting you talked about Dewan. Dewan was a guy that really, if you want to go back and look at an offer list, there weren't many on Dewan. He was a guy that kind of a later-ish take. Didn't beat the big dogs on him. Again, I always look at who are the runner-up in the recruitments. It's like when you beat, 10 years ago, you beat Clemson and Georgia and Bama. That's a lot different than beating Ball State and Indiana. He might have had Michigan. But I think that 95% of offensive linemen are projects. Very rarely do you get Parrish Johnson or Orlando Pace or guys. I mean, even Taylor Decker was a project. Taylor Decker ended up being a first-round pick at left tackle, but he didn't walk in there as a guy that we just plugged in the first day he got there and he was ready to rock. I mean, Paris was the same way. Paris was a 6-man, 7-man as his freshman year went through. Played guard his second year and then moved out to left tackle. Now he's starting left tackle for the Cardinals. So I think that that's something people don't seem to realize, because offensive linemen, they develop slower, and honestly, it's getting worse. They're more underdeveloped now than they've ever been. I think physically, they're better because of the nutrition that's available now between all the different supplements, and the training is excellent. Between performance centers that are all over the place now, O-line trainers, it's a lot easier for these guys to be more athletic. But I don't think that they're physically as capable, because there's such a limit on contact in high school football now. And again, some of you guys that are high school coaches that watch the show, you're going to nod your head and say, yep, it's hard for us to teach these guys how to block and tackle when we're only allowed to block and tackle, a handful of times during training camp. I mean, they really limit the amount of contact to the point where it's almost crazy. And I don't really know how you're supposed to develop linemen. And it also goes up into the college game and the NFL. So you see a lot of guys that aren't developed because, frankly, there's 2 days are gone now in high school. 2 days are gone now in college. So, you really got to get a lot out of these kids in the weight room, and you got to get a lot out of these kids with the hours that you're allowed to have them on the field, because it's crazy. I mean, we had my freshman year at Ohio State, we had 2 days every day. Yeah, and now it's like there's no 2 days allowed at all. So you literally you have half as many practices as you did, 20 years ago. And again, I know that's when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, but still, there's a dramatic difference when you don't have the amount of contact. And I think that line coaches talk about that. I think that head coaches talk about that, especially the ones that have been coaching for a long time. I mean, they had 3 days back in the day. I mean, I talked to some of the old timers that played for Coop and Earl Bruce, man. It was 3 days. I mean, I talked to guys that worked for Woody Hayes. It was 3 days. So, and they were banging. They weren't taking the pads off and taking it easy. They were full pads 3 times a day, which again, that was just how they did it back then. But I think that the strength coach is so important with a kid like this. Obviously, Justin Fry in development is huge, but this is a kid that can go as far as he wants to go. But he's got a lot of raw talent. This is a kid you got to figure out, what really triggers him, and is he, how great does this kid want to be? Nevada, any thoughts on my little diatribe?
Well, no, but I have thoughts, but I have thoughts interspersed with a question, and the offensive line, we talk about it all the time. There's no position on the field that has more guys on the field at one time than the offensive line. You're talking about 5 guys on the offensive line. If you count tight ends, big tight ends in high school, potentially 6. You really have no outlet for evaluating high school, offensive linemen in the same way that you do wide receivers with 7-on-7 and other, kind of other skill position drills. So it's kind of a lost position during the offseason. You've got some camps and you've got some things like that, but you wonder, why is the offensive line such a developmental position? Why when you look at the the NFL, it's constantly looking at guys. It's like, where did you go to college? University of Wisconsin, Lafayette, Eastern, Northwestern, Oklahoma Tech. It's because you've got guys. I wouldn't even know how. If you said to me, rate the top 20 offensive linemen in the United States, and I have to do it, like, all you can do really is try to take advantage, take the other advanced scouting things, take other lists, look at guys. But how can you possibly evaluate guys relative to other guys with differences of competition, differences of development, physical strength? Some guys are maxed out at 17 years old. Other guys don't hit their peak till they're 21. I mean, there's just so many things that go into offensive line play. I think I always look at offensive line kind of like the way that the New England Patriots approach the NFL draft. New England approached the NFL draft in terms of they would rather trade down because they feel like most of the draft picks are a shot in the dark. It's like a lottery ticket. And so why not have more lottery tickets than everybody else? I feel that way with the offensive line. It's like it's such a shot in the dark in terms of getting these guys. There's really, it's really, really tough to see who's going to develop other than like the top guys in the class. And so you got to just have as many chips and chairs as you possibly can. And when guys can't work out, you've got to process them as quickly as you can out of your things so you have more offensive lines so you can get more lottery tickets. But, you as the ultimate case of the underranked All-American offensive lineman, how would you go about evaluating offensive linemen nationally? I mean, how could you even hope to do it in terms of in today in 2024 and get guys and have a higher chance of success than other people?
I mean, the best thing you can do is get them to camp, especially when they're young, because I feel like at this point, these kids, like, I don't think we're going to see Manny at camp this year. I mean, I'd love for him to come to camp, and hopefully he contradicts me and shows up. But, once these guys get offered by places, I don't feel like they feel that they need to work out as much as they used to. So getting them into camp while they're young is a great way to figure out not just to get eyes on them to see how they move physically from a mechanical standpoint, but it also, you really want to get to know what makes these kids tick as much as you can during the hour or two. They're like, how competitive are they? How much do they care? Because again, those camps the camps, the crazy thing about the camps now is they're so short that you barely get an evaluation anymore. I mean, they have the at Ohio State, they have the morning group, which is the offensive group, which is the O-line and D-line. Excuse me. They go linemen in the morning. They go skill guys in the afternoon. So it's like the O-line, D-line go first thing in the morning, and it's like by noon they're done. So you have like a 2-hour practice basically where you get to evaluate these kids. Where in the past it was a 2-a-day where you'd have a morning workout, then you'd have an afternoon workout. So you get to see the kids a little bit more. You'd eat lunch with them, kind of talk to them a little bit, see how they're doing, whatever. But now it's like a totally different dynamic now, where it's almost like the offensive line coach and D-line coach, they're done for the second half of the day. Even though I'm sure that they go out and watch, what the other guys are doing, but or do a little bit of recruiting if there's kids that they want to see. But I think it's as much about the mental as anything with these kids, because I could always get a good read on kids that I thought would make it versus kids that I thought would, die in the blast furnace that is Ohio State. Because again, at the end of the day, like if you're want to run a great college football program, not an average one, not one where guys are just happy to wear the jersey, like it's got to be a blast furnace, and it's got to be tough, and it's got to be miserable, and there's got to be days where you hate going to work, because that's what like greatness is there's days where you got to go do it when you don't feel like doing it. And that's the thing about like Ohio State is there's a lot of days, man, I didn't feel like going to practice. I was like, my body was beat to tar and feet were all screwed up and broken. I had a broken foot for all of '05. So every day it hurt to practice, but you got to figure out if the guy's tough enough to grind through it. And, does he have enough pride that he wants to go win a spot? And again, I think that some of these kids have, it doesn't hurt if the parents are there to get to know them a little bit, to kind of see what you're dealing with. Cause I've been around parents that are outstanding. Like Don Muhort is like the prototype father that you'd want, and the way he raised Jack and the way he treated Jack. And when Jack got there, Jack was like a mercenary. He would do anything you asked him to do, never complained about anything, tough as nails. He could play center, guard, tackle. One spring when we were shorthanded, it was actually Brewster's last spring. We had like 10 offensive linemen practicing. Some days we had 8 because guys were hurt, and we had to fill 3 groups. So we had like the starters going once, then we had the twos, and we have another one of the starters have to pick up half the reps, and then we have a third group. It was miserable for those guys because they got like double the reps that they should have. When you're an older guy, it's hard to grind through it when you've already established yourself, but those guys did, and I give those Brewster and Shugarts and Mike Adams, those guys, credit. But Jack was always in. He never left because he was just a mutant. And then there's some parents that you meet that are total douchebags, and you're just like, yeah, this is going to be bad for this kid, and he's not going to last here, and you're going to go talk to the coach every week because your kid's not playing or whatever, so it's probably better for you to move along. But I think this is why, in May, when these Ohio State's coaches are all over the country right now. They're in Miami, they're in Massachusetts, they're in Ohio, obviously, they're Pennsylvania, California, Vegas, Texas, Georgia. They're all over the place right now. And this is a great time to call in favors, not call in favors, but, if you have a good rapport with a coach at the high school that the kid's at, and you really trust the guy, and he hasn't burned you and he's not going to snow you over, he can give you a good eval on the kid too. And that was something that saved us on some kids where we thought about taking them, but the high school coach didn't go over the top rope, didn't kill the kid, but he would say some things and you'd be like, okay, well, if everything's even, and this high school coach says that the kid is, he's a great student. He's class president. He's been a captain for 2 years. He first guy in the weight room every morning, great parents, like the whole 9 yards, everything's kind of in line. And then the other guy's he's a great player, but he's tardy a lot, and his off the field is chaos. And, you always can get some intel on that kind of stuff. So again, recruiting is so inexact that you have to do as much homework as you can before you pull the trigger, because at the end of the day, when you're Justin Fry or you're Brian Hartline or whoever, the kids you bring into your room dictate the direction of your career. So if you take a bunch of guys that can't play, it's going to be way harder for you to keep your job as the offensive line coach at Ohio State. This is what it is. And sometimes you got to, everyone's got to take some projects now. I know everyone's got this fantasy where every guy that we take is a 5-star or whatever, but you got to take some DeJuan Joneses and some Thayer Munfords that turn into all Big Ten guys and guys that start in the National Football League. And you're going to offset that with some guys you miss on. Because again, like recruiting is like anything. It's like gambling. If you hit 57 or 60% of the time, you're the greatest of all time. That's what offensive line recruiting is like. So in my opinion, I just think it's you have to be so thorough with these kids. And the O-line coach he has the toughest job on the entire staff, because he has to take the most kids, and he also has to take the most projects by definition, because you're taking like the kid from Maslin, Davenport. He was 230 last year, and now he's 280. So, you have to recruit kids that were tight ends last year that didn't even work out with your group at camp last year. And you're like, well, now he's in my group, but I got to see if he's good enough to play, or you got to convert a defensive tackle to a center or whatever, like Billy Price. So again, it's not as easy. Like with Brian Hartline, doesn't have to recruit like a DB and turn him into a wide receiver, or a tight end and turn him into a wide receiver. Like when he works with a wide receiver who's a freshman, he's still a wide receiver when he's a senior. Like with Justin Fry, he might be working with a kid that was a defensive end last year and he moves to tackle this year, or a guy that was a tight end last year and he moved to tackle or guard. So it's just the variance is just so crazy. So hang on, I had to ban some moron in our chat. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I just think it's so funny to me because it'd be nice, you started off kind of the conversation like we got to get the kids to camp, and I'm just thinking, man, how do you even know who the kids are to come to camp? You know what I'm saying? There could be some kid in Idaho that's 6'8" playing on some smaller school that doesn't really get anywhere, but he's one of five. His team's not very good, but he's really good. He's really hungry. He's really going to get played, but you just never would know about him. You never know if he's got the eye of the tiger, and I would think there would never be a position that would be so good to be able to identify hidden gems as it would be on the offensive line. You need a lot of good stringers. You need a lot of people that can kind of bring you that kind of information. And but man, you could hit big because, like I said, when you hit on a DeJuan Jones, when you hit on a Thayer Munford was somewhat underrated, but when you hit on a Burt Carton, you get a guy from a tight end that turns into an All-American, and there's really no other position. It's really unlike any other position. It's not like you might get the occasional cornerback that goes to wide receiver, or wide receiver goes to cornerback like Chris Campbell, but we're still talking about that story 25 years later. It's really rare that you get guys that played one position in high school and maybe come over and play a different position in college and can ball out and can play it at the highest levels, and it happens all the time. So it's wild. But like I said, I think that's why when it comes to offensive line, I'm excited about every recruit because I just never know who's going to be the guy that has it, because so much of it's between the ears. It's not who's the biggest guy, who can bench press the most, or it's the guy that really wants it more than any other guy. The guy that's like yourself, that went out. You talk about when you're out there playing, you're just killing guys in practice, and you just weren't going to be denied. You had that, whatever that something was, that was like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to surrender. I'm not going to let anybody get over on me. And I'm sure you're pretty good at discerning who's got that. But finding that when those guys are in high school, finding that before other people have them, that's a valuable tool, and for Ohio State, that's the challenge they go through every day in terms of this recruiting. Because, like you said, your livelihood literally depends on you getting this right, and you're trying to get it right on the toughest position in the field, and that's a tall order.
Yeah, and again, like we've missed on wide receivers too now. I mean, we just had a bunch of them transfer out that couldn't play here. They were, and obviously we've got a really really deep room at wide receivers. So again, those kids want to go play somewhere, but we've had guys that they've left here and they haven't done anything at the places that they went to. So again, it's not. Again, I don't pick on Justin Fry when I talk about it. I just say that I think the offensive line is by far the hardest position to recruit, by far. I mean, because again, there's no other position where you have to take as many projects, and you just have to take sure numbers. You have to take 5, some years maybe even 6. Again, I know they're saying Ohio State's going to take 5 this year, but if you've got, if another kid portals out, man, I mean, you got to keep your numbers up. If Josh Simmons goes pro, if he has a great year. Again, I know that sounds crazy, but Donnie's gone for sure. Josh Fryer's gone for sure. Josh Simmons could be, if he has a big year. So I don't know. It's a really difficult deal because, you just don't, I just remember when we evaluated kids, we didn't miss on many. We missed on some, obviously, because you're always going to miss on some. Like the kid that went to the Chiefs, the guard, Tooney. Tooney was from Hudson. He ended up going to, I think, NC State. But he was a kid that, I think we saw and he was okay. But again, some guys, what they are as an 11th grader or a 12th grader, it isn't what they are after 5 years of college. So again, there's a lot of guys that they really kind of shoot up once they get to college, and again, you have to judge the strength programs from their high schools too, and kind of project, okay, this kid's pretty topped out just because he's got a good program. And again, sometimes, as dumb and as weird as this will sound, and this will sound very dumb, so just please work with me here. If you're at like a school that has an excellent strength program, I think that coaches think that you have less upside because you've already been trained really well, as opposed to some of these kids that have never touched a weight in their lives, and so I think that you got to evaluate that. And I mean, I was lucky that if I didn't have the strength program I had in high school, there's no chance I'd have played at Ohio State. But I had probably the best strength program in America when I was in high school, and it was tough and gritty, and we were in ridiculous shape because it was like Marine boot camp every day, and it was good for us. Like when you're a young kid, man, that's like the greatest thing in the world is when you have in school weightlifting and you get to get after a little bit. So yeah, this will be interesting. Like a kid like Manny, who we watched a little bit of his film. That's the kid, obviously, everyone in America is going to want, but it's kind of like, what can you do with that kid? And if I'm that kid, if I'm his parents, if I'm his high school coach, I really want to know who the strength coach is, and what's his trajectory. Mickey, I don't feel like Mickey's going anywhere. Mickey's making $1 million a year right now to coach, to be a strength coach, which is, obscenely high. It's got to be top 3-ish in the country, because I know the guy from Iowa is gone now, but he was the highest paid. But Mickey might be, he's probably top 3. So I don't think Mick's going anywhere. And I think that if this kid had Mick and the culture of the O-line room, I think he'd be in great shape. I really do. And that's the thing that I would sell to David Sanders Jr. is like, look, you've got, you want to be Paris Johnson. We just made Paris Johnson. Paris obviously came in as a very, very talented kid, very, very developed kid. But, you got to take it to that next level to get to the first round of the NFL, and we just did it. So, again, it's never been easier to recruit O-line at Ohio State, in my opinion, just because of, look at our track record that we just put Luke Whippler in the league as a center, 2 first-round tackles. We had 4 tackles drafted in 2 years, which I don't think that's ever happened in Ohio State history. I mean, with DeWand, Paris, Thayer, Nick Petit-Frere, I would bet a large sum, unless we go back to like the 70s or 60s or some land before time era, like that's never happened in the common era where we had 4 tackles get drafted back-to-back years. Like that's ridiculous.
Who recruited those guys?
Stud, all of them. I mean, I think that, yeah, because Thayer was the oldest one. Those are all studs guys.
Well, but wait, I thought we couldn't recruit tackles. I thought that was who weren't people saying that like we couldn't recruit tackles or something like that?
I mean, that's not what the NFL thinks, because Thayer Munford is going to start for the Raiders at right tackle this year. I mean, he's already starting in mini camps and OTAs, and Nick Petit's going to start for the Titans. DeWand, the only reason DeWand would not start for the Browns is if they bring Jack Conklin back, which it looks like they're going to do, but that gives them a big kind of problem, because you've got Jed Wills, DeWand. You have like 3 basically NFL tackles on a team, and I don't think that they could trade any of them. Like I can't imagine you'd ever trade DeWand, because he's making like $1 million this year, and Jack Conklin's probably making 15 or 18 million this year. So be interesting to see what they do there. I don't think any of them can play guard either, which is kind of the other scary part. And Jed Wills is kind of a left tackle. Be interesting to see if they work DeWand at left tackle at all and let Jed Wills go, because Jed's been terrible. But Conklin's getting old, so it's going to be interesting. And then Paris, they let the Arizona Cardinals let DJ Humphries walk. DJ Humphries was a first-round pick. He's been there for 8 or 9 years, and they let him go. They cut him, I think, actually, and they moved Paris. Paris started at right tackle last year. He moved him over to left tackle, his natural spot this year. So now you've got Paris, and you've got Kyler, and you've got Marvin in the same offense with John Conner. So they're starting to get some really good pieces in Arizona. Despite having the worst turf and field in the history of mankind. So that'll be interesting. We got our first super chat of the day. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Appreciate you guys joining us a little bit early today. Gary Tate, thank you for the deuce. I do not know if you have a question. I'm just going through the chat to see if you have a question. So yeah, I see Devin's in here. Deb, Karis, appreciate you guys being out here a little bit early. Yeah, Nevada, I don't know. I think when you looked at a lot of the recruiting stuff, this is a big year for Justin. And honestly, I think it's a big year for Ryan Day in recruiting the offensive linemen. Because I know that, in theory, people say that it's just an O-line coach thing, but when it's these big time guys, the head coach has to get involved. All right, I got the question, Nevada. I know that we don't have a timeline, but Gary Tate asks, "What's the timeline of the team at North getting the hammer?" We're actually going to do a little update on that on BuckeyeScoop.com tomorrow. Nevada, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, timing this stuff's always it's so hard. I get asked that question every single day, and it's just so hard to answer. The last information that we'd gotten from the NCAA was that they were assigning new additional investigators, expanding the scope of the investigation, and I just don't know what that does to the timeline. I know that the NCAA moves on their own clock. They don't care about anybody else. Sometimes they move faster. Sometimes they move insanely slow. And, I just don't know. I mean, I was asked that question today. I was asked to give over under whether it would be before the start of the 2024 college football season. And I said, I'd probably bet over that because it's not in like the next 90 days. And I just don't know if they'll be wrapped up on that. For me personally, and this is just me, I always am completely honest with people. I love it. I love the fact that Michigan is just, the longer the uncertainty, the longer this swirls around them. And believe me, it's swirling. And they know that, no matter what, the fans go, it's dead. Nobody cares. It's over. Believe me, it's swirling. And it's always out there for them. It's always going to be kind of a lodestone for Michigan. For Michigan fans, the more that they talk about how they don't care about it, that's when you know that they really do care about it, because it's going to happen. If you look at what happened to Tennessee and Florida State and Arizona State, and you look at these schools and you kind of go, man, these schools got whacked. Arizona State got whacked, a bowl ban. Some of their coaches got 10-year show causes for stuff that is 1/100th of what Michigan did. So it's definitely going to be happening. Don't know when the first LOA is going to drop, but I know that when it does drop, it's going to be devastating. It is the worst on-field cheating scandal in the history of college football. And again, little preview of what you'll hear tomorrow. The NCAA realizes how bad it is, and when you hear what they're talking about tomorrow, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But that's all I'm going to give you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he also says OH, Nevada.
Nevada,
I wanted to ask you about this because you've done a lot of sports contracts and the like. The Marvin Harrison thing is really interesting. So Fanatics, owned by Michael Rubin, who is known jock sniffer, is suing Marvin Harrison Jr. It comes down to whether the term the binding term sheet is a binding contract. I guess there was a deal where Marvin Harrison Jr., who does everything his own way. I mean, I've never seen a guy who does kind of more individual stuff. I'm sure a lot of it is because of his father. His dad is no stranger to the game in the NFL. There's a conflict where, he and Fanatics had a deal last year where he, a big thing that a lot of these guys, like Quinn Ewers and Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the big ticket items that they have to sell, like with these NIL deals where they get like literally a $7-figure, $1 million deal, is their autograph rights. Because there's a market for people that want autographed stuff that says Marvin Harrison or Quinn Ewers or whoever, CJ Stroud. So when you talk about these guys getting a lot of NIL money, that usually is the really big chunk, unless they're just national superstars, like Caleb Williams last year. So it seems like Marvin did a term sheet last year where he basically agreed, he agreed to do the autograph thing through Fanatics. And that, this lawsuit says that he entered into a fully binding and enforceable contract to provide Fanatics with certain things, which was mostly autographs. And it says that he said that the binding, Marvin Harrison said that the binding arbitration agreement did not exist, and he refused to fulfill any of his obligations. Therefore, he probably skipped some autograph sessions or something to that nature. And then Fanatics says that they had extensive negotiations with Marvin Harrison Sr. It says that there's a binding term sheet, and the complaint includes 4 bullet points regarding all the content The information's all redacted. And it also says Marvin Harrison Jr. says that no agreement exists. So again, this is it's bizarre. He skipped the rookie premiere. The rookie premiere is a big deal that they usually do in Los Angeles, where they have all the rookies in their gear for the first time, and they shoot a ton of photos basically to get the first round of rookie cards out on the market and promote selling their jersey. Marvin Harrison Jr., who would probably have one of the highest selling jerseys, does not have his jersey available online because he did not sign his NFLPA operating agreement. So again, this focuses on the trading card business, but it's really it's bizarre because it seems like they paid Marvin and Marvin didn't do what they needed him to do or wanted him to do. Whatever. Again, I don't care. I mean, I like Marvin. I think it's great, but it's been a weird ride. What are your thoughts on this, Nevada? Like, I mean, this is like I said, I've never seen a kid not sign the NFLPA agreement. I mean, even the first overall picks have signed it. But Marvin hasn't. So for whatever reason, it is what it is. But I'd love your thoughts on this.
Well, look, here's a lesson that I've learned for many, many years in many deals is a term sheet is not a contract. And so whenever I hear the words term sheet, I immediately, my ears go up because, a younger Nevadabuck would think, hey, let's sign a term sheet and that's our agreement and that memorialized it. Now we have an agreement. A term sheet isn't a contract. If you don't have all the terms spelled out specifically in there, it's not a contract. So, whenever I hear the word term sheet, I like I said, without having seen the document, without having gone across it, but having been involved in a lot of these deals, I'm sure that it comes down to what was a term sheet, what's an agreement, what's a contract, and those things are very, very different. And I'm sure. Look, Marvin's going to be a centimillionaire. His dad's beyond wealthy, so it's not like they're not getting good legal advice on this. I'm sure some lawyer looked at it and said, Marvin, this isn't a contract. This may be an agreement to agree or an outline of an agreement or an indication of strong interest or, even like I said, laying out the terms. But if it's not a contract, it's not a contract, and then therefore it's not enforceable as such. That's where I would think that this thing is coming down. But again, without seeing the agreement or the term sheet, I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I've been through this is my first rodeo on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like the weirdest thing to me is so Fanatics. For those of you guys that don't know, I mean, they are taking over the world right now. Like the NHL, like the hockey league, they literally have their jerseys are actually Fanatic jerseys now. So they're not. They used to be Nike, they used to be Adidas, they used to be Reebok. Now they're Fanatics. All of the team issued gear for the NHL is Fanatics. I don't think that they'll be able to take the NBA from Nike or the NFL from Nike, but they're growing dramatically. They're into sports gambling now. Michael Rubin today literally had lunch with all of the Fanatic guys that were at the rookie premiere with Jay-Z and Tom Brady. So Caleb Williams was there. The tight end from Georgia was there. Brock Bowers. Like basically the top 10 guys that were skill guys were all at this like little thing. So he does him and CJ Stroud are always at Philadelphia 76ers games together. So it's again, like for Fanatics to do this, again, like it says in this article, they have to feel really strongly that they're in the right because, when you pull the trigger and you sue, arguably the second biggest name rookie behind Caleb Williams, it's going to ruffle some feathers amongst the NFL players and make you wonder, well, why are you suing us? Like, should we do business with you? Whatever. But I don't know. I just thought that was surprising to me because they do everything to just cater to these kids. They throw these big parties and they invite them all and Super Bowl parties and whatever. So, it'll be interesting to see like what's the repercussions of suing Marvin Harrison Jr. And how this thing shakes out. Again, I don't really care either way, but it is, our highest drafted receiver ever getting sued by the largest, sports printing company or sports apparel company in the world. So figured we at least touch on it, especially given your background dealing with contracts and teams, Nevada. Nevada, Pooh Bear 12 asks a very interesting question. Off topic, best barbecue. And they've been an ultra member. Appreciate you, my man. Texas, Carolina, or Kansas City? That's a great question because I do not like barbecue. So, do you have an answer? Texas, Carolina, or Kansas City?
I like Carolina. I like Carolina. I think it's I like a little sweeter. I think it's really good. But, for a barbecue place, I can tell you, I've said this before. People have heard me talking about this before. But when I was down in South Florida, I actually went, it was actually Bill Greene and I went to Mama Lucy's barbecue down there in South Florida, which is kind of the hub of South Florida of high school football recruiting. And that is an experience, man. Like, you go there, they don't give you napkins. They give you a loaf of white Wonder Bread to wipe your hands with and stuff like that, which I'd never seen before. They cook all the barbecue out in some open, like half trash can in the parking lot. And go during daylight hours, I would suggest, because you'll probably feel safer when you do that. But yeah, Mama Lucy's barbecue down in South Florida. Iconic spot, and they can tell you all about Trooper Taylor and his bags of cash and buying South Florida players, and that's always exciting to talk about.
You said you'd feel safer. So
yeah. We drove.
Sure.
Bill and I we drove up and got out of the car, and the first thing they thought was we were a couple of cops, like undercover cops or something like that. And
oh my god,
we had to.
They thought you were the feds.
They thought we were the feds. We had to convince them that we were not the feds, that we were just there for barbecue and college football stories. And yeah, they were. That was big time. And that's when I first was introduced to the concept of kid racing, where they would like race kids from neighborhoods and have like the fastest,
for like thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars, like thoroughbreds. They'd race these kids. It was unbelievable. Like, I'd never seen anything like it before. But take the fastest kids from all over the place, and that was always entertaining.
It looks good. I mean,
Yeah,
hey,
very good.
I mean, I know that that's where the guys throw it down. I don't know how it's economical to be handing out loaves of bread instead of just like a paper napkin. But again, what do I know?
Loaves of bread. Like, you get the entire loaf. I'm not talking about like slices. I'm talking about
you get like an entire loaf, and it's fresh bread. Yes. It's not like they didn't get it from like the fish bait place or something. And you're supposed to wipe your hands with it.
No, it's Wonder. It's in the Wonder wrapper. It's like fresh loaf of Wonder bread. Yes.
That's amazing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, you use it to sop up everything and wipe your hands, and I mean, it's fascinating.
So, like, do you like wash your hands when you're done with the bread? Like, is there a
wipe your hands with the bread?
Or just go out to the Everglades and go?
I didn't go to the bathroom in there. I didn't feel sick. I got in the car as quick as you could, and we drove out. So I probably washed the hands there or wiped them on Bill's seat or something like that. But
you wiped them on. No. You wiped them on the seat you wiped on the rental car seat.
Yeah. Oh. If there's a car, if you rent a car down there in South Florida and it's got like barbecue sauce all over the seat, that was probably Nevadabuck right up in his hands all over the seat.
I love it. Devin, what's up, man? Ohio 7715. Thank you for the big ultra member. Thank you for the wrench. I hope you guys had fun at fishing with Shof yesterday. It looked like it was a blast. What's up, fellas? Shout out to the Scoop family. Thanks for the shout out yesterday. Kirk, the Buckeye name will handle recruiting on Sunday day. Join the best or don't. We will be okay. 24-25 Natty Lock, Nevada OH. Our boys were doing a little fishing yesterday. I don't know what they caught, but they were big. And then they ate it last night because why wouldn't they? So the guys were they were very self-sufficient yesterday. I initially, when I saw this photo of Devin, I thought that he had like a bat and he was like beating the fish down, but it's obviously his reel. He's reeling the fish in, but like I've seen people like beat the fish down with a stick or something so they stop fighting. But yeah, they caught it, they ate it, they did it the way Southern boys do. So shout out to Devin and Show for having a high old time yesterday. Nevada, do you have anything to say to Devin?
Well, yeah. First of all, thanks, Devin, for everything. And secondly, when I saw that picture, my thought he was with Show is that they were fishing with like spears or something like that, some sort of sharpened knife instrument or something
exactly.
like that.
That would be more on brand, Show, if you guys were spear. I mean, you could just put this on the end of a branch and just poke the fish to death, right?
Exactly.
That would be on brand right there. Pole fishing in the South with Show. There you go. There, you guys want your YouTube show. There you go. So but yeah, I'm glad you guys had fun. I'm glad you guys connected. That's kind of the magic of Buckeye Scoop is that people that never would have met mate, and so it's really cool. Mark Pollitt, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Burke in Nevada. I haven't heard you mention Josh McDaniels anymore. Is he out of the picture now? I think he's done. I think he sniffed around a little bit. I don't know if there's room for the end for what he wants to do. He might be taking time off, but I also think that when a guy's like a stone cold NFL guy, I really think that he's just trying to find anything in the NFL to stay in touch, stay relevant. That's my opinion. So yeah, or he could just take the year off. I mean, he's been coaching for a long time. He's made a lot of money. Been a head coach twice. Fired. Fired head coaches make great money. So I think that he's done. But Nevada, do you have a different thought? And also Nevada OH.
Do not have a different thought, but um, I would have loved it. I would. I know some people were like, "Oh, I don't want Josh McDaniel. Oh, he cuts about that." Man, I would have loved it, and I would still love for that to come together. I'm not sure if it's going to. It doesn't sound like it's going to. Lots of different reasons why that can happen, but the biggest one being, you're a coach, and I mean, how motivated can you be when you've got tens of millions of dollars in the bank? If you're not getting like exactly what you want and exactly where you want it, there could be some personal stuff as well. But I would have loved it. I would have loved to have seen it happen. I think it would have been great for Ohio State. And I'm still, I won't say I'm optimistic, but I'm hopeful that maybe at some point in the future that comes together, because I just think it would be, I think it'd be pandemonium to have a guy that smart with the offensive guys that we already have. I think it'd be unbelievable.
Totally agree. Tony Turley, what is up, brother? Hope you're having a great Sunday. Thanks for being an Ultra member and a Hall of Fame member, along with Devin and Akeem. Appreciate you guys. Did I hear the name Don Muhort? Yes, Jack Muhort's father. He is an attorney here. I did not know he's an attorney. I know he has a title agency that Jack works at now. He is a great guy, a great person, great father. Also, Nevada is unequivocally correct that a term sheet is not a contract. And again, I'd never heard of one operating as a contract, so it's kind of surprising and almost silly that that's what they're stating. Especially if they accepted payment, which I'm sure they did. Because I think if you asked me, Kirk, what do you think went wrong here? I'm thinking that they paid Marvin, $1 million or something, and he didn't do the work. Now again, I could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm not hating on Marvin, great kid, whatever. But sometimes you get busy. Sometimes you feel like maybe you need more money, or because I think part of the beef was that Marvin, somewhere it was like, he got offered bigger money by a different autograph, market or dealer. There's like 3 or 4 of them that all bid for the services of the players. Basically, it's like they bid on the future rights, like the next 6 years of rights to your autograph stuff, because again, it's speculating basically. You're speculating that this kid's going to become a first round pick and he doesn't stink. And that's why the kids, they give up their rights when they're in college, because they can make, a bunch of money up front and take care of themselves a little bit. So, also shout out to the Scoop Gang. Appreciate you, Tony. Nevada OH. Yeah, Don Muhort is a great dude, a great father. Jack is obviously a great kid, one of my favorite players ever. Coached him, really it was great. He wore 74, so I was proud of him. He was an All-American, had a good career in the league, like 4 or 5 years. Had some knee injuries. Great dude. Nevada, you knew Don, obviously, correct?
Oh, yeah, knew Don. Got a great Jack Muhort story. I've told the story before, but I don't think I've ever told the origin story. One of Jack's roommates was Billy Brewster, and I knew Billy pretty well. And we're talking, and Billy's like, Jack's got a big poster of like a polar bear in his room, and I'm like, really? He's got like a polar bear, and he goes, and he really thinks that he's a polar bear. And I said, well, so yeah, he likes polar bears and he's got things. He goes, no, Nevada, no, he actually thinks that he's a polar bear. And like, he'll say that he's a polar bear and he's going to eat like a polar bear and he scrounges like a polar bear. And I always just found that I've never been able to get past that visual of Jack Muhort as the polar bear kind of scrounging around, because one of my all-time favorite players at Ohio State, one of the all-time great kids. I mean, what a great kid. Don did a great job raising him for sure, but he believes that he's a polar bear. which I always found peculiar. Did you? I'm sure you'd heard that story, but did you know that he thought he was a polar bear?
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's pale and he's big, so it makes
He's
sense
very
that he'd
pale.
think he's very pale. He's like an albino, but he was one of those guys that he'd put sunscreen. Like, I mean, I never understood like guys that are like gingers or light skinned dudes like that, but like they put sunscreen on to go. I mean, I couldn't imagine putting sunscreen on before to go to practice because like you got that nasty oily spray all over you, but he would hose it down every day at practice, man. Because I mean he would burn. Or those guys where they wear long sleeves, which again that would be equally miserable when you're out, and it's 90 degrees on turf and you got to wear long sleeves. But yeah, he is a great kid, great player. Had a really good career, and he's doing good work with his dad's title agency up in Toledo. So really, really good dude. And Nevada, I'm sure you love Tony backing you that unequivocally that a term sheet is not a contract. I mean,
well, yeah, that's what when they said term sheet. And see, my take on it is probably, so I don't want people to think. I mean, because again, we don't know, but I don't think that they were like they gave him $1 million, then he just took the $1 million and didn't do the stuff. I'm sure whatever money they gave him, he's returned to him and said, "Here's your money back. I'm not going to do your thing."
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, we gave you the money and you have a contract." And he's like, "No, you gave me the money. And we signed a term sheet, which was an expression of interest, but it wasn't a final deal. So here's your money back, and I'm going to go with XYZ company." But again, I'm speculating.
Yeah, and again, like I don't really care. Like, I mean, I don't care if whatever way, because it doesn't affect us either way. I'm happy for Marvin. He's not a Buckeye anymore. I mean, he's not like on the team anymore. Obviously, hope he does great with Arizona and the NFL and everything. But if he was currently on the team, that'd be a whole different ball of wax. Because then it'd be like, okay, now this could affect our season, whatever. But I'm sure they'll get it resolved somehow. But yeah, it's like I said, for Fanatics to sue a guy, like it's got to be something I think pretty egregious because they shepherd and they love hanging out with some athletes now, and they got a bunch of athletes on payroll. They've got podcast starring athletes, so because you got to think about like the repercussions of CJ Stroud and Michael Rubin are like best friends now. They hang out all the time together, so it's like. What's the repercussions when CJ's like, dude, why are you suing my boy like that? Like, so it's, you got to always think of the whole thing, but they have got a business to protect and they print money right now, multi-billion dollar company. And it was one that 10, 15 years ago, like didn't really exist. So they've gone, I don't want to say that far back, but they've basically put most of the brick and mortar sports stores out of business because, if you're looking for a jersey for any team or any type of apparel, and you Google it, it's probably Fanatics is probably gonna be the first thing that pops up. So
Scoop Fanatics store.
We do have a Scoop Fanatics store, so I did buy a bunch of Ohio State sandals from it, and they are fantastic.
And we have our gear drops open right now. And we have a gear drop that's open right now. So you get Scoop stuff,
dude. You're right on it, aren't you?
I am. I'll
get the QR code up real quick. Yeah, we Speedman 606 thank you for the 5. How much Nevada could a Nevadabuck buck if a Nevadabuck could buck Nevada? That is I don't think I've ever heard that, but that's I think I stumbled through that. Okay, that's a great show as always. Appreciate you. Just want to pay it forward for my fellow veterans, Nevada appreciate you guys. Yeah, again, we love supporting the veterans, and we've signed up a ton for our site, which has been awesome. So yeah, we're real excited. So our drop, I'll just toss this up here so you guys can see the QR code real quick. Again, the drop is now officially live. You can type in your phone rep, R-E-P, the T-H-E, scoop, SCOOP.com, repthescoop.com. The link is actually in our bio as well. But yeah, we've got the white hat. We're actually going to add, by popular demand, we're going to add a white massive shirt because everyone's like, I want another massive shirt. Can you get a white one? So that'll be up hopefully tomorrow afternoon. So if you are waiting to order something, that'll be up tomorrow. So you don't get charged twice for shipping. But we got the white hat. We have the Carhartt hoodie that everybody was begging me for. So I ordered one of those yesterday. I'm excited for that. This white Under Armour shirt, we're going to do a white. It'll have the same font as the previous massive. And we're going to toss that on a white shirt. So I know you guys will love that. We've got the workout hoodie, which is the Under Armour one, which is great. We got a white polo, so you got the Urban Meyer white polo thing going again. We have a gray polo. Because again, I know everybody was tired of my Undertaker fashion sense of all black. We've got a bucket cap and we have a visor. So all new stuff for Father's Day. The drop will close next Friday, so we will be promoting it each and every night. So you guys can get on there. Again, I will toss the QR code on here right about there. So if you can scan that, let me make it a little bit smaller. So I'll hold it there for a second. So if you guys want to pause this, you guys can just scan it on your phones and away you go. So I appreciate you. Actually, I'll do you guys one better. I'll put a bigger version of that up so you guys can, I'll center it. There you go. So if you guys want to, if you guys are watching this on your, at home, you can scan this. It'll pop up and the store will be nice and open for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, we were not planning on doing another drop, but I talked to Doreen and I had a lot of people say, hey, can you do Father's Day's drop? So I said, okay. So we switched all the gear out. We get all ready to go. You guys will get plenty of time for Father's Day. So great Father's Day gear. And it's all new stuff. So, appreciate you guys that supported it last time. You guys all looked great at the event. We're going to be doing our next event pretty quick here. So I'm going to get with a couple folks and get that scheduled. And I'll let you guys know with plenty of time to make arrangements. And it'll be a blast. So I'm super excited about that. We have another super chat. Appreciate you. Imagine Wagons JVB. Thank you for the 10. Have you heard of Harrison Butker and the petition going on to have him cut from the Chiefs? Do you think that would work? And if so, let's start one to force Colson Loveland to transfer to Ohio State. Oh my God. This is a hilarious super chat. Nevada OH. Well, I mean, Harrison Butker is one of the 3 best kickers in the league, and he's kicked in 3 Super Bowls, and he's been nails in all the Super. So Harrison Butker ain't going anywhere. I mean, outside of Justin Tucker, he's probably the best kicker in the league. So he ain't going nowhere. And again, it's freedom of speech. You're allowed to have an opinion in this country, thank God. So I know, some people's they ruffle more feathers than others, or some people get persecuted for their opinions more than others. But he had an opinion and he shared his opinion, and I'm good with it because again, this is freedom of speech. Like you can say any crazy thing you want in this country, and guess what? It's legal. So it's not like that everywhere. So he got up and said some stuff that got people all on tilt right now, and it doesn't. It's. I mean, you're allowed to say what you feel. There's a lot of people that say stuff in this country that I can't stand, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that like what I say. So kind of is what it is at this point. But to get something to get Colson Loveland here would be amazing though, because I think he's a dude. He's really, really good. I think he's their best player on offense by far. So yeah, I think that'd be a dream. That might be like one of those things. The first thing you do on Dynasty mode in College Football 25 is you go offer Colson Loveland a mansion in Muirfield and $1 million to an NIL deal to see if you get a trade him from Michigan. So that'd be hilarious. Nevada, Imagine Wagons JVB, who I think this might be your first super checks. I don't know if I've ever remember reading this. I usually have a pretty good memory of you guys. Have you heard of Harrison Butker, obviously, and the petition going around to have him cut from the Chiefs? Do you think that could work in? Let's start with for Colson Loveland to transfer to Ohio State. We did the OH. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I think the idea, people like free speech, except for when it's something they don't agree with, and then they don't like free speech. So, hey, I think he's going to say what he's going to say. Like you said, athletes say stuff all the time that you can agree with, you can disagree with, but it's his right to say it. He knew exactly what he was saying. It was very calculated. He was ready for the back. It's not like he was unaware of the backlash or the potential backlash. So he's a big boy. He'll be fine. As for Colson Loveland, yeah, not coming to Ohio State. Is he the best player on their offense? Yeah, because he's the only guy left. I mean, you got him and Mr. 4.3 yards per carry, Donovan Edwards, and everybody else in the offense is gone. So, yeah, good luck this year. I think he's going to have I think the Michigan offense is going to be absolutely not good this year. And I think he made a mistake staying there. But, hey, he did. So I can't wait for him to come to Columbus in November so we can boot him around the ballpark.
I absolutely and totally agree. Well, Appreciate you guys tonight, Nevada. I told you to get you out here at the top of the hour. Any final thoughts?
No, just go enjoy the end of a great PGA championship. We get some great basketball games going on, all sorts of things going on. But I appreciate you guys sharing the day with us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you guys, as always, for being a part of the Scoop family. Thank you for making this a huge episode. We appreciate all of the Pay It Forward super chats. Again, you guys bring awesome questions, and you help support our veterans and our armed forces, our police officers, by helping get them subscriptions to BuckeyeScoop.com. So we appreciate you guys so very much for all that you guys do to take care of each other. That being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys for kicking it with us each and every night. We try to go at 7 every night. We're a little early tonight, but we'll be back at 7 tomorrow. This will be a little bit of a wonky schedule this week, so we'll keep you in the loop, but we're going to be going every day. We'll be going a little earlier later in the week, but I'll let you know about that. So, as always, we appreciate you guys so very much. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with, as always, and we appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.